Hey guys, what's up? This is the Man vs. Wheelchair podcast, where we talk about shortcuts, secrets, and truths we wish we knew 20 years ago about being disabled. Together, let's take over your disability with a winning mindset and learn to live life the way you want.
Right. And that's that you nailed it. The biggest thing is accountability. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like nobody's gonna hold you accountable if you don't hold yourself accountable. Yeah. And I mean, they're supposed to, they're absolutely supposed to. But it's like, if you can kind of liken this to, like a deadbeat alcoholic or something, nobody's going to expect anything out of them because, they're a deadbeat alcoholic. Yeah. So it's like, now apply that to me. Nobody's really going to expect me to succeed in life because, I have a terrible genetic disease. Mm-hmm. It's a crippling disease. They're not really looking at me and saying, oh, that guy's going to own his own business. Yeah. That guy's going to be, successful in life. They're probably going to end up saying, oh, that poor guy, I wish him the best, or, or even, thank God I'm not like that guy, but I want to live a life where people, would say, it's easy for them to look past the wheelchair. And with my personality, what I've tried to develop is a personality and an attitude where it's so easy for people to forget that I'm disabled. And even at work, I'm the only disabled person at work. And people will come by me all the time and ask me to do something, and then they'll stop and be like, oh yeah, I forgot you can't do that. Right. And that's, I kind of, without patting myself on the back, I kind of attribute that to my attitude and my personality, because I want to be so comfortable with people that it's so easy to forget the wheelchair, because really, I'm not the wheelchair. Right. In no way, shape, or form. My disability has nothing to do with me as a person. It has to do with the physical side of me. It has nothing to do with my mind, my will, my emotions. All that is completely separate. And having the right mindset, having that, and I had to reach for that. I had to want that,
for sure.
To be the type of person that people could look at me and say, no, this guy right here, he doesn't need any sympathy. Actually, I need to grab a hold of him because he's going places and I want to get something or whatever he's getting.
Yeah.
And that's such an opposite mindset of disability, having a disability is today.
Yeah. It's kind of an ascension, from disability to top tier human being, because even people that are capable of it and not in a wheelchair, they don't push that hard. And I do agree, you have to have a certain mind for it. You have to have the want and the drive to, be an entrepreneur or an academic, whatever you want to be, but you have to have the drive. That's the first thing. And if you can kind of ascend out of this stereotype of being in a wheelchair and having no accountability to having the highest standard and the highest accountability to yourself, then, to me, that's kind of winning the game. And
right. And what's neat about this is that, we're applying this to being disabled, but this actually goes beyond.
Oh, yeah.
This just goes to being a person. Yeah. That's how you succeed in life.
Yeah.
But we're just having to do it. We have to take micro steps because we're disabled and saying, okay, well, first we have to get the right kind of attitude because other people are helping us. And in order for people to help us along the way to success, we have to have the right mindset and we have to have the right attitude. We have to have the right drive. So, in the end, and which I love, is that, this whole idea isn't just for any one person or any type of disability or anything. It has to do with succeeding in life.
Yeah, and it's a story of overcoming things, and taking over your mind and not letting physical limitations or barriers or obstacles stop you, no matter what, no matter when you have the excuses to give up and quit and lay in the corner. It's beyond that. And that's why it's so important for parents of kids with disabilities to instill that in their children. And I think about it all the time. My parents raised me, and they never ever said a word about me being in a wheelchair. Never one word. I was never treated like it. And even though, behind closed doors, I'm sure that they struggled and they felt it. But like, I never, maybe when I first got in a wheelchair, like 6, I think was my first time. I remember when my first wheelchair came, I was playing on a trampoline with my cousins. I was 6 years old, and they come in the white van and they pull the wheelchair out and they bring it out, and everybody's excited because it's like a cool wheelchair, and it's like motorized, and it's pretty cool, and
yeah, of course.
And then I was so scared. I guess I can't really tap into that emotion now, but I can just imagine. I was so scared of, I guess, getting in that wheelchair and never getting out. I started bawling, and I crawled into the middle of the trampoline, and I just stayed there. Like, I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to get in the chair. But that's the only time that I can remember, like, being treated, I guess, I don't know, like I was disabled. It was just that first time. But ever since that, my parents never ever treated me like a disabled person. And I think that's why I have such high standards for myself and for other people, disabled or not, is that I don't, you may have something wrong with you, but you make it up in other areas. Not everybody's a strong swimmer. Not everybody can lift weights, but you have to figure out your strengths. And if you focus on your weaknesses, you can never figure out your strengths.
Right. And, to kind of jump on the back of what you were saying is, my mom and dad, I had chores. I had to make the bed. I would get in trouble just like my brothers if my mom came in and I didn't have the bed made. I didn't have my clothes picked up, which I could do, in those younger years when I was still able to walk, but kind of wobbly, and even into being in a wheelchair at my my preteen years, they still required my chores to be done. They demanded, that I act like a human being. And I remember the first time that it hit me that I was really going to be disabled. And this was like with you, the only time that my dad ever really, I guess, kind of gave in that I can remember. I was sitting at the table coloring, and my oldest brother, who's disabled, he was just having a not a good night for whatever reason, and he and my mom, they were having a pretty passionate discussion, and to put lightly. And I remember getting up and walking into the living room, and my dad had this recliner that he always sat in. And I remember just leaning up against him, and I just started bawling. And I was like, I don't want to be like that. Like, I don't want to be disabled. I don't want to be mad that I can't do things. And that's what was, that's what my brother was mad. He wanted to do things and he couldn't. So, and I just remember feeling that, and just, like my dad holding me, while I cried in his arms of, I don't want that. And looking at it now, that's so unfair to do to my dad. It's like there's literally nothing he can do about that. But of course, as a kid, I didn't really think about that. But it's just that emotion came, and he just let me have that moment. And he was there for me. But moving on past that, then it was no, I understand that you're upset about this, but this is how it is. This is what's going to happen. This is where we go. This is what we have to do. And, my parents were so supportive of everything that I did. It didn't matter what it was or how silly maybe they thought it was, as long as I was putting all of my effort into it and it was something that I thought was important. They supported me, and they went along with me, and we're going to talk about that later on about parenting. But that's kind of where, I don't know, man. It's just, that was the core. That was the beginning of me looking at my brother's attitude, and then I also remember whenever during all this time that happened, he kind of, he gained his composure and whatnot. And this was actually a little bit later. I was talking to him and I was like, man, I just don't want to be in a wheelchair. And I remember he looked at me and I was kind of just constantly, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be like this. And he looked at me and he was like, man, just shut up. Deal with it, man. Get over it. Move on. And that was such a smack to the face, with reality. And it's like, that's right. There's nothing I can do about this. It is what it is. I have to start moving on. So, and thankfully I had an older brother that had already gone through that, to really share the words of wisdom of shut up and move on. So yeah, that's where it was.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Like, just shut up and move on. Like, okay, like, that's hard, but do it. Like, you gotta do that. You can't be stuck in one emotion for your entire life. That's no way to live, and you can truly be prosperous. And, in 2018, you can be prosperous no matter what, well, maybe not no matter what, but in our situations, you can truly prosper in the world. You can, you have a beautiful wife and 3 kids, and no one's to say you can't do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like I went from living with my parents, in the back room playing my PlayStation all day long, to, having my own job. Actually, I owned a business first, but then I have a job. I'm an office manager. I have, like you said, a wife and kids. And I put that out there for myself to want it, but I never really thought that I would accomplish that, but I put it out there to be accomplished, and like I said, it's that goal that you really want it, but in the back of your mind, you're like, oh man, is that really going to happen? But it did, it really did. So, I just had to get the right attitude, and I had to, like I said, put one foot in front of the other and just go for it. And I couldn't let anybody stop me. Especially me, because I'm the only one that can stop me.
Absolutely. And, now you say that, it's so true that you're the only one that can stop you. Because if you develop these things, like a good personality, and people want to be around you and they want to take care of you, they'll help you no matter what. You want to travel, make the plans and they'll help you. Or you want to, go to concerts, they'll help you. You have to develop those relationships. I think that being physically disabled to the point where it's difficult to move around and do things yourself, you have to become a people person. And you have to develop those interpersonal skills, because it's just so hard to accomplish things if you don't have these people to help you. And you have to understand that there are a lot of people, and if some people don't want to help you do those things, then they're probably not the right people to be in your life, or at least to expect to help you. But there are plenty of people that don't mind and will go the extra mile to help you out if you're good to them. Thanks for listening to the Man vs. Wheelchair podcast. If you guys got this far, that's amazing. And I hope you got some value. And I want you to do one more thing for me. go to manversuswheelchair.com and sign up to join the club. That's where we're going to give you exclusive content and more tips on how to level up in life. So go to that right now. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to hit that follow button.